Good morning, guys and girls. This one's for the Cobalt people that are racing Cobalts. Let's talk about these rear ends. It's come up a few times on the tech page here in the last few weeks about these Cobalt rear ends. And we've talked about how they're weak on the end plates here. So if you take a look over here, this plate is prone to breaking off. And part of the reason is if you look down in here, well, the reason's probably Chinese steel, but what you do is you got to reinforce this plate. They're also prone to bending. If you get hit on the wheel, they actually bend here in this curve. It makes it really hard to actually see that it's bent, but if you get a wheel on here, the thing's tipped way out, you can tell this is bent, but this is how we fix it. So, come in here and weld this up. From the factory, it's not welded in here. So you weld all the way up through here on both sides to strengthen up this back plate, and then we put this cross piece in here, fit it over this hump, and weld this piece in to keep it from bending. And that's it. That's how we reinforce these rear ends to keep them from breaking. I'm putting this one in this car here, but this is exactly the same as what's in my race car, and it was in the car all season, took some hits, and it's been fine. No bends, no breaks, no nothing. So I had this spare that I already had made up on the trailer that I'm going to put in this car here, because this is a 5-lug car and this rear end isn't supported, isn't reinforced, so we're going to swap this one out. But another trick here is when you go to the junkyard to get yourself a rear end, what we normally do is you've got your brake line here that goes into this. When we go to the yard, we bring a pair of snips or a grinder with a cutoff wheel, nip this, nip off your e-brake cable. The bolt that goes in the shock is 21 millimeter, and then the bolts that go up into here are 18 millimeter. That's it. That's all you gotta do. There's 6 bolts that are 18 millimeter, 2 bolts that are 21 millimeter. Snip this brake line, take this 10 millimeter nut off right here so that this whole clip comes free, like that. Keep the hose and everything with it. Drop the whole rear end out. Now what you might run into here is the nuts up inside the body might spin if you live in northern states like me, where it's rusty. If you live down in the southern states, they probably come right out. But if that happens, you could run into a problem. You might want to try those first before you get going through all this other stuff. If you're at a yard where they let you use a torch, or the guy will come out and torch it for you, you might be able to still get those out with a torch or something. But that's where you can run into a problem getting them out of the junk cars to have a spare. But other than that, it's pretty simple. There's not much to them. A little bit of reinforcement, like that, and you're good to go racing.